welcome everyone that's officially to our stats class. What I want to spend today doing is just going over kind of the big picture, what's expected of you, what kind of resources we've got to help you out, and give you some clues to what might be good strategies to be successful. The first thing about this class is that it's asynchronous, which is a fancy way of saying there are no class set times. So you don't need to turn up to class like you might be doing for your chemistry, for instance, at 2 p.m. every day or something. And that does mean that it's going to be a lot more on your shoulders, the learning experience. And so I have a 12 o'clock officer, 12 p.m. You'll find it in Canvas. And basically you just click on it and you turn up. I'll guarantee to be there that time. I had to choose a time for my officer just because of the mechanics of it. But that isn't the only time I'm available. If you have problems and it's not 12 o'clock because you do, you know, your French class at 12 or something, then you just shoot me an email. Sometimes if you just put in the email what the question is, it's chapter 2, question 14 on WebAssign. I can very often reply through email and we don't need to do a Zoom meeting at all. But if it's more visual or it's a little bit more complex, all I'll do is we'll set up an individual one-on-one Zoom meeting. So it's a bit like the analogy. Can you imagine you just turned up to my office door and knocked on the door and I happened to be in and you said, look, I need some help on this. So that's kind of how the Zoom thing works, right? So that means, as I said, you have a lot more on your plate. And so you have to make sure that you're on top of things and don't have a slow start, because in 7 weeks, it will zoom by. Like, you won't believe how quick this 7 weeks is going to pass. So you really need to be on your toes. So let me start by zooming over, I hope, to here. You lot should be looking at the canvas. Can you see it? Am I showing you the right picture? Oh, good. Now, before we continue, I'm going to ask for your permission to put this video online in Canvas so that people who couldn't make it can look over the video and see some of the information I'm giving. Plus, it's going to be a benefit to you, because if you forget something, you can just go back and look at the video and say, ah, yeah, that's what you said. Okay, so I'm hoping for your permission. The way this is kind of going to work, I think the easiest way for this to work is for you to opt out. So you don't need to say it right now. You need your privacy. But if you're not comfortable with me putting this video or any of these videos with you in it, the ones with you in it, then you shoot me an email and I will make sure that those videos don't harm, right? That's basically it. Okay. So it's your choice. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I tend to edit them a little bit. So when you watch this video, the bit where I was asking Nathan some stuff and so, and that won't be there. That doesn't need to be in the video, right? We kind of start when the video officially begins, right? So any private conversations, they disappear, if you're wondering about that. Okay, so this here is statistics on Canvas. And this is your go-to place for all your important information. So if you look at this information here, if you click on, I know this one at random, it tells you a little bit about me and some funny videos. I think they're funny anyway. You need to join WebAssign. 25% of your grade is on homework assignments that are in WebAssign, and your midterm and your final. So if you don't have WebAssign, you won't be able to get any points. So you need to do that. I'll talk a lot more about WebAssign later, but for the time being, join WebAssign if you haven't already. The instructions about how to do it are here. That one there, right? How to enroll in WebAssign, essentially. Then we move on a little bit further. Here is where I have put some, but not all, of the videos. I've only put, and that looks like about the first 3 weeks. There are a lot more of them. I just haven't got round to putting them on. But you only need the first few weeks anyway, so it's not a big deal right now. There are some general things. For instance, if you click on this one, it's a Peter, once it loads up at least, it's a PDF of your TI-84. If you need a calculator, well, you will need a calculator, let's phrase it that way. The best one to use is the TI-84. Again, there, click on that then. Is the TI-84. You don't need to buy one. Talk to Cheryl in Mesh. So if you find a Mesh office and you dial it, there'll be a nice lady there called Cheryl, and tell her you'd like to get a loaner of a TI-84, and you just nip down and pick one up from her, and you get it for the quarter, and it costs nothing, right? You just give it back at the end. So you don't need to pay for one, but definitely you should look at it, getting one, because they do disappear. So here is just the manual for it, because everybody forgets the manual, right? You'll lose it in the first week if you're me. Now, chapter 2, chapter 3, there is no chapter 4, chapter 5, 6, 7, all the way to 13, I think it is. 2 main sections. One section, this top section, has all the videos. So basically you watch pre-made videos as if it was a lesson, right? You just turn up and yeah, you'll see me. I'll click on the big screen and there I'm doing my thing. One of the advantages of this way of doing things is, can't you just pause it, go and have a cup of coffee, come back, right? Can you rewind it and say, what did he say again? Which you can't really do, you know, in real life. So I'm not a great fan of asynchronous. I think it's much better to have interactions, but it's, you know, it's doable. And there are tons of videos on chapter 2, right? Watch them. That'll be in place of turning up to class, because there is no turning up to class, right? We don't have that. And second one is another different kind of resource. And it is, if I make it bigger, some notes that I have made. So you read these guys. And it gives you another resource. So you have videos you can watch. There are written PDFs of some of my lectures. That's the second resource. And each chapter has videos and lecture notes. Videos, lecture notes, right? So far, so good. Everything's in Canvas. Now, if we go over to the syllabus, let's give you some of the big things. Midterm is on Monday the 2nd. The final exam is on Thursday the 19th. These days are fixed. It has to be on Monday the 2nd and it has to be Thursday the 19th. What is not fixed is the time slot. So you might be doing French or working or whatever reason it might be. You just need to contact me and you can start at 9 AM, you can start at 5 PM or any number in between those, right? So you've got a big window I'm assuming that you're not firemen and do 24-hour shifts. So there should be a 3-hour slot in a day that you can be free. Okay. All I need to know from you is when, right? And not right now because I'll forget, but you know, when we get closer to the time, and things might change, you know, you don't know what shifts you're going to be on in 4 weeks from now, right? You could be on day shift or something, right? So, you know, a few days before, you shoot me an email and I will make sure that we're set up for you. Now, when you're doing the 2 tests that are in WebAssign, you'll turn up just like you are doing now, and there'll be a Zoom. And that's so I can make sure that Nathan, your big sister's not telling you the answers. Or Samantha, you don't have a doctor behind you saying, oh, that's an easy one, pick C, right? So it's just a security thing. So I need to see you to check. And also, if you have questions, you can ask me, because sometimes you might say, question 4, it looks like it's got a typo in it, or I can't understand what you're asking or whatever, and you can ask. The test and the midterm are are open book. So anything that you've physically written down, you can use. But on the day of the test, WebAssign will disappear. So you won't be able to go back and look at your answers to previous homeworks, with the exception of the test. That will be the only thing that will be there in WebAssign. That's the only thing you'll see. What else? And Canvas will disappear, so you can't watch videos. But you're allowed to write down any useful notes that you want. And the grading of those guys is 25% of your grade is in homework, 35% for your midterm, and 40% is on your final. So you want to be really, really prepared because of that, right? Now, if I wind back a bit, you can see this thing here. Week 1, up to and including midnight on Sunday. So week 1 finishes on Sunday at midnight. These are the 4 homework assignments in WebAssign you need to complete. Week 2, these guys. Week 3, week 4, there's your midterm. What's left of week 5, week 6, and week 7, and then your final. Now, there are some extra credit, 5% in total. If you complete your homework for assignment 1 and you don't ask for an extension, you get 0.5% extra credit added onto your grade. So 3.5%, right? 7.5% add up to 3.5%. If you ask for an extension, in other words, I need more time to finish my homework, you will not get that extra credit of 0.5%. Now, 3.5% might not seem like much, but wouldn't that be the difference between you passing and not, or getting a 4.0 and not? So get into a good habit, join WebAssign as soon as you can, and keep to the schedule. Now, if you've not done asynchronous before, I suggest that what you should do is read the chapter on the textbook, go to Canvas, watch the videos and the lecture notes. And once all that's done, you can then go and do the homework in WebAssign. And it's much more efficient to do it that way because you'll have seen the stuff, you'll know what's being asked of you. So when you do the homework questions, it will make a lot more sense. So read the chapter of the book, watch the videos from chapter 2, say, read the lecture notes from chapter 2, then you can do the homework assignments. And that will probably be the most efficient way you can do it. Okay, there's a lot of information being thrown at you there. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
So for the homework, we never, how many times try we can do it?
You get 5 tries on each question, if that's what you're asking.
And also, are we allowed to use Tutor Online to do that?
You will be using your computer because WebAssign is a piece of software that's online, so you have to. Are you asking something different then? Are you allowed to use your computer? Are you allowed to use your computer to find help on the answer to something? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like I saw some people
YouTube.
using the online tutor.
Yes, definitely. Take advantage of it. Go on YouTube. Sometimes the video doesn't make sense to you. And then you do a YouTube search and you find someone who explains it much clearer. All of that is totally okay, right? It's very interactive. You're in charge in a lot of ways on your own learning. You've got to figure out what makes sense to you. You know, how do they, you know, what, right? So you've got a lot of flexibility there. Yes.
So also the 5 times tried, the first time try and the last time try, 5 times try, it doesn't matter. It will
Nope.
impact you. Okay.
No. So if it takes you to the 4th one before you get it right, you get the same number of points if you got it first time. Yes, Samantha.
Thank you.
Are these required, the 1 to 2 class times? Tuesdays and Thursdays?
We do not have any fixed class times.
Oh, okay. I guess I was confused.
Yes, we are asynchronous. A little history behind that. When I was choosing these classes, I was going to be in Scotland.
Oh.
And so because of that, I wouldn't be available to do videos. Our time difference is just basically different.
I'm going to Mexico, so I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but.
Well, now you would know how you're going to do it.
Yes, it's way better. Right? Thank you.
Don't let fun in Mexico stop you doing your homework. So find quiet times and get it done as well.
I know.
Right. True story. 2 quarters ago, one of my students, I was jealous as heck, was doing a Calc 3 or Calc 4, sitting by the pool in Disney World. That's just not right. I mean, that's just not fair. Right. But I mean, it worked. So, you know, you can find spots. You can be out on the beach or whatever and have your laptop with you, right? And do your thing. So yeah, that's totally okay. So where was it? Any other questions? So far, so good. Yeah. So reiterate, join WebAssign really, really soon. So what we're going to do now is zoom over to WebAssign. Now, if you haven't got your financial aid through yet, because, oh God, I couldn't even tell you. Someone asked me this and I was meaning to look it up and I just told them to ask the OC bookstore. How much does it cost to do WebAssign? Has anybody got it off the top of their head how much money it is? So
$90 for just short-term use. If you want to use 4 months, will be $110.
Okay, so $90?
90.
90, right. You get 10 days, I believe, 10 days free. In other words, if your financial aid hasn't came through, you can still sign up for WebAssign, do it. At the end of the 10 days, they're going to ask for their money, right? But by then you should have got your financial aid.
14 days.
14 days, right? So you got 14 days, 2 weeks. So, I mean, even in a bad day, won't your money be through by then, I would hope, right? So, well, where are we? Okay, so we are looking at Cengage. You will see something like this. And over here, can you see Sunday, June the 11th? These guys here are week 1's assignments. You've got to get these done by Sunday, midnight. If you do, you get 0.5% extra credit. Plus, remember, 25% of your grade is on this stuff, right? So you don't want to, roughly that's about, it's about 3.5%. of your grade is in front of you. Total grade, right, is in front of you, plus the 0.5%. So every time you do that, you're improving your grade. So make sure you do it. And then, can you see the next bunch? 18. And then the next bunch, 25th, and so on. So all the homework assignments are here already, including, well, there are more, but these are the current ones, I guess. If I click on the future ones, you'll see them as well. Let's show you something. If you've never done WebAssign, if you click on this particular one, there we go. You get questions, right? So there's a question and a place to put your answers. And you get 5 shots to get it right. A couple of things people sometimes don't pay attention to, and I'm not doing it myself here. Well, these questions are pretty straightforward, but watch out for things like what they want you to round the answer off to. If it says it wants the answer to 1 decimal place, then don't give me 2, because WebAssign isn't bright. If the right answer is 1.7, but you put in 1.71, thinking, well, I'm more accurate. If it only wants it to 1 decimal place, it will put a big X on you. Right? So you don't want to lose points just because of not reading. And these questions here, it's not such a bad thing. And essentially, well, let's take this guy here. There's a picture. If you put the mouse pointer over, do you see it tells you a written description of what the visual picture is, tells you the heights of things. I find that a distraction, but it's there. And then it says, describe the shape of this data. Well, you'd have to know what they mean. Symmetric, left or right skewed is what they're asking. Symmetric is sometimes called bell-shaped. And this particular question, let's suppose I say it's highly skewed to the left, which it isn't. So I'm deliberately picking the wrong answer. I then go submit answer. And I'm wrong. Of course, it could be highly skewed to the right, which it isn't. So I will submit answer. And it's still wrong. So it must be that one. Now, if you just go through these yes, no questions, A, B, C questions, and do it the way I just did, can you see that you'll get them all right and you'll have learnt nothing? Because you didn't actually pay any attention to the question at all. You just said, hit the first one, hit the second one, hit the third one. It's going to be one of them. I'm going to get it right. I got my homework done in 30 seconds. Great. Because what's going to happen when I get a question like that in the midterm? You only get 1 hit. You see, you won't know the answer. So try not to take bad shortcuts like that. Actually read the question and find out. Now, if for some reason you've read the chapter and whatever, you couldn't remember what that was about, you see this little box here called Read It? If you click on that, it will jump to the ebook. So you've got an electronic version of the book. And it goes and it tells you about rights and lefts. And if you scroll a couple of pages, it'll talk about location and spread, and then a little bit more. Eventually, there we go. You'll get anything you need to know from there. So, some questions have this little button here called Use Solve. Now, suppose you wanted to take this data, which is to do with blood pressure and the number of people who had blood pressure in this range. Aren't you dead if your blood pressure is 45 to 55? Anybody in the medical field there, you're darn close to being dead, but whatever, right?
Well, that's diastolic.
Say again?
Saying that's diastolic blood pressure. If that was
Oh.
systolic, you would definitely be dead.
Okay, that shows how much I know about blood pressure. Are you in the nursing program, Tommy?
Yeah, I work in the ER.
Okay, right. Excuse the ignorance. You're right. There are two kinds. There's diastolic and systolic is the other one.
Yeah, that's the top number.
Right. Which one of those two is really the important one of the two, or do they both equally important?
I mean, they're both equally important. Because you're diastolic, you live in that 2/3 of your lifetime, and systolic is 1/3 of your lifetime.
Is one when the blood's going in and the other's when the blood's coming out?
One is when it's systolic is when it's being pumped out, and diastolic is when your heart is at rest between beats.
So it has a half a second before it does it
yeah,
again?
it depends on your heart rate.
Okay. Now, this is a table with various people with the values that they've got. This thing called SALT is a lovely piece of software embedded in WebAssign. When you click on it, you see all the data. And there's lots of things you could do to that data. It depends on what's being asked. In this question, they want you to do a, looks like a histogram it would be. Yeah. So I'll click on that. And then I'll go over here and I'll say diastolic. And I want a histogram. Uh-oh. Bar chart then. There we go. There we go. And one of these guys will be one of these guys. Let's see if I can match it up. That one looks like that picture. And let's see if I'm good at this. Ooh, I got it wrong. What's my eyesight like? Two in the middle. Ooh. Try that one. You can have lots of fun with this. Hey, I got it. See my little check mark. What was the difference between those? Oh, the two rectangles are slightly different positions. Do you see this? Okay, that's it's basically it gives us lots of questions, different types of diagrams, all sorts of cool stuff. And that's pretty much what WebAssign is about. You get 5 shots. And have I mentioned the TI? I think I did. The TI-84 calculator yet? Have I? This is the second time. I've already done this once with a previous class. Have we mentioned the TI-84 calculator yet?
You talked about that we would need one. I don't,
Right.
and how to get one for ourselves, but I don't know. That was kind of it.
Okay. Let's see. The TI-84 is very helpful because there are going to be a lot of questions where it's just quicker to do it on the calculator than to, go through SALT, because SALT isn't always going to be available for every question. It's very useful when you do some of the number crunching, finding means and so on. You don't need to buy one. Contact MESH, M-E-S-H, the MESH office. Talk to Cheryl and ask her if you could get a loaner. And we have a fair number of TI-84s that you can borrow for free. You just give them back at the end of the quarter. So if you go to the OC site, you should be able to find the MESH office and then phone Cheryl. If I was any good, I'd be able to tell you the number. 360, no, 575, 700, I think. Don't quote me on that. After 18 months of not using my office phone, I've forgotten what the numbers are. I could tell you my private number, but I don't think that would be any good to you. So I won't. So that is, any questions about WebAssign? Are we good? Right. I thought what I would do just to finish off with is maybe give you a kind of idea of why statistics is so important and why I think many of you hopefully will get some use out of it. One of the uses of statistics is to take information, that's data, and put it into a form that allows us to visualize it, to summarize it, and finally to make predictions using it. And we have to do it in such a way that is valid. It's no good me just looking at some data and deciding because of my political or social perspective that that is proving something when it may not. So I'll give you an example of how you need to be careful about how you interpret information. Let's suppose there's a politician in Seattle who goes on TV and he says, Seattle police are racist against Scottish people. I just looked at their hiring policy and only 2% of Seattle police force are Scottish descent. See what I mean? There's proof they are racist. They hate Scottish people. I consider myself a race. I'm Celtic. Okay, people think I'm white, which I guess I am, but I'm really Celtic. That's how I associate my life. What's wrong with that conclusion?
There's not a lot of Scottish people in Seattle to begin with.
That could be a big issue, couldn't it? There wasn't all the information I needed in that 2% to make a valid conclusion, like Samantha says. So let me give you 3 different scenarios. 1% of Scottish people live in Seattle, right? 2% are in the police force. Isn't that evidence that they're actually favouring Scottish people in the police force? Isn't there twice as many people in the police force than there should be if it was averages? 2% of Seattle is Scottish, 2% are in the police force. Isn't that exactly what you would have expected if there was no bias one way or the other? Right. 2% of the police force are Scottish, and 20% of Seattle is Scottish. Don't we have a problem here? Would you agree if 20% of Seattle was Scottish, but only 2% of the police force is Scottish, isn't that a problem? There's good evidence then that there's a problem, right? But you can see how if you are very selective, and politicians are really good at being selective, can't you just pick out the one number, the 2% thing, and play it any way you like? Right? That's why statistics is important. I want you to, when you finish the class, to be able to look at when people tell you something and say this is evidence. I want you to be able to say, is it real evidence or are they missing information? And be able to tell what information extra you would need to be able to make a valid decision on them. A different topic. Suppose a pharmaceutical company has a new pill out that gets down the blood pressure that we were talking about, right? Reduces high blood pressure. And they want to put it on the market. Don't they have to prove a number of things? The first thing they have to prove is that it's not going to kill you. Don't they have to do a safety trial? Which basically is, they're not even trying to test the effectiveness. They're just trying to find out what side effects it's got and are they bad and could it kill you, right? Isn't the second hurdle that you've got to prove that it does a better job than whatever's already out there? How do you prove that a new pill does a better job than the old pill? Can we just trust the pharmaceutical company to say that it does? Would that be a good way of it? I don't think so. Agreed. And don't you need some objective way of deciding? In this class, we are going to show how that happens. How do we prove something is true? Or at least you can't prove things in statistics. That's probably the wrong phrase. How do we show that it's likely to be true? We're never going to be able to say it's guaranteed to be true. But what we can say is that we're 99.9% sure it's true, right? That kind of, only God knows 100%, right? Everybody else is 90+%, no matter what it is, right? So how do we get to that stage? And we'll show you there's things called hypothesis tests and confidence intervals. And we will actually be able to show you how experiments are made. Just to finish with then, has anybody heard a thing called the placebo effect? What does it mean to you, Nathan?
The placebo effect, isn't it? Shoot. Dang it.
It's in there. It's waiting to come out, right?
Yeah, it's a medicinal effect. It's when you think that that a medicine has a certain effect on you, it will cause your body to actually respond in a similar way, basically, where you think it actually cures you, essentially.
Yeah, placebo effect, yeah, pretty much. It's maybe not as strong as it will cure you, but it's certainly in certain circumstances is quite a strong effect. And it works better when the effect is not physical. You probably couldn't get a placebo effect if you broke your arm, right? Your arm would be broke. It wouldn't fix it. But if you were measuring pain, take something that's quite subjective, or actually blood pressure. If you believe that this is going to calm you down and make you more relaxed and therefore make your blood pressure go down, and you believe it, even although you're being given a sugar pill, right? No active ingredients, it's been discovered that it actually does have an effect. People's blood pressure, some people, a lot of people, will actually reduce. And so when you do a medical experiment, we have to avoid what's called the placebo effect. Because you can imagine if we were testing the new pill, could that new pill reduce blood pressure even although it was no good? Just because of the placebo effect. Almost all pharmaceuticals that it is possible to do use a thing called a double-blind experiment. Tommy, you heard of a double-blind experiment? You heard of that term? Well, what does it mean to you?
It means that neither the person receiving, so in the case of a pill, neither the person receiving or giving it knows which one is real or placebo.
Right. And the placebo is just, we say it's a sugar tablet, but it could just be any old tablet, right? Sometimes the placebo is actually the old pill, right? So it's not like you're not treating the person, because if you've got a high blood pressure, it's probably not a good idea not to give them something, right? So it depends on the circumstance. And by doing the double-blind experiment, we essentially remove the placebo effect, which before they actually believed that it was true, because it wasn't always accepted, and they had to do experiments to prove that the placebo effect actually existed. They didn't worry so much about the double-blind thing. They thought it was more trouble than it was worth. But now they pretty much do it for most, when they can, most situations. So you get the data and you put it together, and then at the end of the day, you say, yep, that pill works, and it goes into manufacture, and it costs you $70 a pill, because that's what happens when a new pill comes on the market, right? And then you wait. Is it 10 years you wait till thing goes generic? What's a generic time? No, 5 year? I don't know the number. 5 years then, right? So the pharmaceutical company will make a killing if it's the first pill to do whatever it is, right? If there's already old generic pills out there, they won't make anywhere near as much money because, you know, your insurance company will say, well, you can just take the generic for your blood pressure. You don't need the new one. And then people who can afford it will take the new one because it's better. Right? So that's the kind of idea of what's going to happen. You're going to look at how do we collect data, summarize it, visualize it, and then make predictions on it.